Hello, hello, hello. Good to see you. You get fairy dust, I get fairy dust, Amelie gets fairy dust. And now this is video number 5 of me giving my experience, strength, and hope about my eating disorder and my recovery. I just want to say before I begin, we are about to get into my recovery, and I want you to know that there are lots of different ways to heal yourself of your eating disorder. My path is not your path, and your path may not be my path. We all come to this from different places. We have the same eating disorder, so it's like we're so unique, and yet it's also textbook. So it's like, I have bulimia, you may have bulimia, but the way that it has played out and the way that it progressed and the way and how it shattered me is different than the way it's going to be for you. And that is okay, and that's actually that's normal. That's actually normal. So therefore, that also means that my path to recovery cannot also be your path. You have to find your own path. And how do you follow your path? You just follow the thread. Also, like when I say follow the thread, it just means like, what's the next right thing? Like, do I need to follow other accounts? Do I need to go to a meeting? Do I need to read up on intuitive eating? Do I need to go to a nutritionist? You will be guided. Your recovery will guide you, and it always it communicates us with what's the next right move. So I tried a lot of things. And I half-assed a lot of things. I went to treatment 3 times. You may not need to go to treatment at all. You may need to go 4 times. You may need to go 1 time. So it takes what it takes. It's, and I am a bulimic, but I also have a trauma response of fawn mode and freeze mode. So I also have to work on my codependency, and I also have to work on, trying not to check out all the time. So I just want to make it clear that this should not be your path. That's one thing I don't want you to take from me. All that I'm doing here is just sharing what worked for me, and that it's healable. Like, it's healable. I don't know that I love that word for myself, but it's healable enough to where I can manage and not use food as a drug anymore. So, and that comes from a relapse queen, which you will hear all about. So I want something very, very important is to trust yourself. So it's this twofold: trust yourself, whatever the next right step is for you, next gut, what do you need to do? What's the next right thing? And getting the data from that thing. If I went to treatment 3 times and then still relapse, probably treatment wasn't the best fit for me. You know what I mean? Or maybe it was actually crucial, so that I had to do all 3 so that I could eventually get to healing. What if I didn't go to that 3rd one? Maybe I'd still be using and then able to stop in 3 more years, but the data is really, really important. I absolutely recommend therapy. And this is from and I recommend you seeing if that therapy works for you. You get to decide. I'm going to recommend a book in the future where she is highly critical of the shit that was done to her in therapy. She felt like she didn't get what she needed to stop binging. And you know what, I'm gonna just tell you now so you're not in suspense. The book is called Brain Over Binge. It's a fantastic book, and I think her critique of therapy and how therapy treats eating disorders is actually really important information. I found it to be, I'm a therapist, and I really, really thought it was a great critique of therapy for eating disorders. So I will talk to you about that book when the time comes, when it enters in my life, and how it helped me tremendously. I also need to say, I'm not going to identify the 12-step programs that I went to. I might by accident, but I'm not intending to. That's part of the traditions of the 12 steps. You're not supposed to, it's not supposed to, I'm not supposed to be a representative of those. And I can tell you, bitch, I am not. I am absolutely not. But it is part of my experience, strength, and hope. And therefore, therefore, I need to be respectful of that tradition, and also I need to be respectful of myself. So both together. I also need to confess right now, like, and again, turn this shit off if it pisses you off. Turn this shit, it's not for you. If it pisses you off, or if you like, oh, Elizabeth, why are you saying these things? I'm saying them because they're my experience. That's all. And I can't help what didn't work for me. So I have to say those things if they're true, because I'm going to be real. So now it's time to talk about going to fucking treatment. So I was in my, I had an eating disorder specialist. Oh, and the book Brain Over Binge. She also has a podcast, so you might be interested in that as well. Catherine Hansen, I believe is her name. She's awesome. She's not a therapist. She often has therapists on her show, her podcast. But I loved getting her experience and her knowledge from her incredible experience, which I truly, truly, truly appreciated and appreciate very, very much. And I experienced some of the shit that she talks about in the book about, I'll just say just a very brief version, but she's looking at the DSM, the criteria, like what makes a person use, this is just from my memory, extremely paraphrasing. But so let's say it's, for me, it's throwing up 2 to 5 times a week or month. I forget what the criteria is. But then you go to treatment or you go to therapy, and they say, why don't you journal? They're not actually addressing the criteria, which I thought was a great critique. And that actually 100% happened to me. And I do think that it did play a part in why it took me so long. The shit wasn't sticking how I needed it to stick. And I also take responsibility that I didn't do all that I could. What I truly believe for myself, wow, we're 8 minutes in, I haven't even started. What I truly believe about myself is I truly was always a sincere seeker, but sometimes that there's more shit going on than just my eating disorder. So when I would try to stop binging and purging, and then here's some unresolved childhood trauma, well, guess who's coming to the rescue? The food addiction, the medicine for the pain. So, okay. So I'm just going to tell you about the time that I went to treatment. So I went to treatment. It was a 12-step based treatment center. I went to 3 days of inpatient, which was a horrible nightmare. Because I had to detox from coffee. So I had a horrible headache. It was miserable. It was absolutely miserable. But I was in there for like 3 full days, and then the outpatient treatment started. And so I had 2 kids at home. So the last story I told was about having my daughter and going into realizing I needed to break the cycle, which I did. And then 14 months later, 14 months after I had my daughter, I had a son. And so I had these 2 kids, binging and purging, and like relapsing, et cetera, et cetera. But I was in therapy the whole time, and then I was like, okay, bitch, you got to go to treatment because you won't stop. And I'm like, okay. So it was great. It was really one of the hardest and best experiences of my life, going to that treatment center. I met my best friend there. Surprise, surprise. I will tell you, one of my favorite things about him that I met in treatment was we didn't have this terminology back then, but he got on restriction from handing the tissues to people that would cry. He would always, like, somebody would start to cry in group, and he'd like always give them the tissues, and he got in trouble for that because clearly he was so fun. Oh, that's one of my favorite memories from that time. I remember, what did I remember? So there was a day program, so it started like 9 to 5 or some shit. And the hardest part of all of that was eating and not purging. Surprise, surprise. Like, no shit, Elizabeth. And that's not true. It was hard. But also the comparing, the comparing, my sick brain. Again, like, anytime you sit down, you clock, am I the fattest in the room? Am I the biggest in the room? Oh God, I got in trouble the other day for calling myself fat, because that's a trigger. When I say fat, I mean 1980s fat. Like, that's how we talked about it. Like, I don't know another word for it. I could say overweight, and then the word fat is also my inner saboteur's word for how shitty and disgusting I was. So please forgive me if you're triggered. Please turn this off. No one needs to watch this. Okay, so where am I? The evolution of man. Like, that's how it was in my brain. Like, where am I in this evolution of man? Who's the thinnest? Who's the heaviest? And I'm not proud of this. Like, this is just the way my sick fuck mind worked. I also was always skeptical of the teachers. Some of them were overweight. The therapists, some were overweight, and some were like normal weight, but it was still like not thin. And I was like, why am I going to do all this shit to end up looking like you? Like, that's how fucked up my brain was. Like, that's crazy. In spite of all that, I was able to still get the learning out of it. I'm surprised I did. One of my first stories. Okay, I'm gonna end on this because this is too long for you. Okay. When I was born, my mother gave me the name Elizabeth and immediately nicknamed me Lisa. So my name as a child, my whole life, I thought it was just Lisa. I kind of knew that I had a full name, Elizabeth, that Lisa was a nickname, but I didn't really pay much mind to it. So Lisa. And my last name was Love. So my name was Lisa Love. And for those of you who think I look like Lisa Loeb, I know even my name sounds the same. So my mother said the reason she nicknamed me Lisa is because that Liz, because she felt like I was going to get nicknamed Liz because of the name Elizabeth. So, but she thought Liz Love sounded like a porn star. And so, or stripper, I can't remember which one she said. Probably stripper because I don't know about porn back in the 60s. I'm old as fuck. So anyway, that was kind of like a joke of the family too, like, haha, whatever. Okay. But then comes so every year you can just picture how cute I am, and I just go to my school and I sit in the chair, and then the teacher says, Elizabeth Love? And then I raise my hand and I say, yes, it says Elizabeth on there, but my name is Lisa. Every year. That was one of the reasons I hated the first day of school. I knew I'd have to go through that thing. So every year. Then came the day when I went to a school where I had 3 different teachers for the very first time. So in the first class, first teacher raised my, did my routine. And she goes, "Oh, of course, Lisa, boop, boop, boop." Very nice, one of my favorite teachers. Then I went to English, did the same thing, raised my hand, and she says, "This is English. We're going to use our proper name, so you will be Elizabeth." I mean, not going to say a word. And then I went to the third class of math. I raised my hand, and I'm like, Lisa Little. There's too many Lisas in here. You'll be Liz. And I'm a fucking introvert. I'm painfully shy. 6th grade is when I started to be the chubby girl, like the overweight girl, the fat girl. I mean, it was a new school year. Like, oh God, horrible. So I'm not gonna do anything about this. So I had 3 different names in this school. No one knew what to fucking call me. And so from then on, I'm like, I am never gonna tell them what my name is. I'm never gonna do it. They can I'll just be Elizabeth at school and be Lisa at home. And so, I didn't. I mean, I never did that again. So I was always Elizabeth out in the world and Lisa at home. And then the day came where my mother predicted someone started calling me Liz somewhere in late middle school. And that's the name that I had for the rest of high school. And so Liz was my name. Okay. It's like now I have 2 personalities. I had 3 and then I got 2. Because then no one bothered to call me Elizabeth anymore. It was horrible. It was traumatic. So fast forward to treatment. And the other thing is like, oh, please, whatever you want to call me is fine. Whatever you want to call, you get to pick whatever my name is. Like whatever you're most comfortable. Is it too hard to say Elizabeth? Like 4 lines? Oh, no. Please shorten it to 4. So one day I was in treatment doing something on the board and the teacher goes, no. So I wrote it, but there was not, it was like we were tallying something, I don't remember, but I ended up putting Liz. And then I think 1 or 2 people started calling me that from then on. And so like my first sit down with like my assigned therapist, I go into her office and she says, "Okay, my first question is, what's your name? What do you want to be called? Like what?" I don't know. I mean, like I was so lost. I did not know my fucking name. I did not know. But from there, I chose Elizabeth. I chose it. I really love that name. And I still am Elizabeth. I mean, Lisa to my mom and my sister and a few other people that know me through my mom and my sister. It's real cute. My nieces and nephew call me Aunt Elizabeth. My sister calls me Lisa. It's just the thing, like whatever. And it doesn't, I'm good. This is what I like. Because once they started calling me Elizabeth, I did not like it. So, but that's how lost I was. And that's how much, so can you imagine like not even knowing my own name, not knowing. So from then on, I decided Elizabeth, and if someone tries to shorten it on me, which people love to do, it's like their passion in life to shorten my name. I always correct them now because my name is Elizabeth. So yeah, there was not a lot about eating disorders. Because now look, it's 20 minutes. Thank you so much for still being here. I love you. Wow, I thought this was gonna be like 3 more videos and I'll be done with this story, bitch. Like, no, there's so many stories to tell you from treatment and how it impacted it. So I hope it's helpful. I love you. Bye.